What about when you get in the room here? And this can be a little bit of a jam sesh between you and Brandon, because you and Brandon, I know, often work together. So you arrive, you get in the room, then how do you work it?
Well, one of the new little wrinkles that we added is there's coffee. So we have a little coffee sip, and we have a little schmooze in the green room. So usually we just kind of, it's obsequious banter, but we're making progress. What are you up to? What are you doing? What are you doing? We talk a little bit. Brandon and I, we both like sports, so we talk about scores and games and plays and stuff. And not to say you don't, Lars, but just to say what I do with Brandon. And we have a little schmooze there, and then we kind of just if it's a cold day, just get the kinks out. Sort of limber up a little bit, take the coat off. Suit up if I have to change my outfit, because that happens very often, and then just double check in the mirror, take a look, make sure everything's okay, and then ready to go. Okay. I usually make a paper hard copy. I like to have the paper, so even though you guys will take the soft copy and you accept obviously the PDFs for scripts, I'd like to make a copy, give one to Brandon. I usually, hopefully, I'm prepared enough that I can just go in there and I don't need to see something else, and we just step into the inner sanctum. There's the sanctum, and then there's the inner sanctum. So the sanctum is the green room, and the inner sanctum is the actual recording area where the scrim is. And it's just, once you get in that room, it's go time. So you don't want to go in there and just sort of, I mean, it sounds a bit corny, but like, I don't want to go in there and just mill about, because it's not the room where you mill about. That's the room where the work gets done. If you want to have like a little sort of schmooze and a kibitz, you do it outside. If you want to have a coffee and you want a beer, or you want whatever you want to do, whatever else we do there, like that's where it happens. So, and it's spacious enough that, we can all sort of stand like in a triangular formation type thing, and we can all have our little four cubits, and just do our own little thing and get ready to go. And we crack a couple jokes, maybe a couple F-bombs, just like guy, dude talk, whatever. And then we get ready to go. And it usually happens the same. It doesn't matter who the session runner is, and it's usually the same type of process. And it's like you guys have done this so often. You can see actors walk in and they're just like, they're humming, they're vibrating, there's all this luminescence, like you can just see it. They're like, yeah, let's do this. And then they come out and it's this, I'm sure you guys have this feeling, it's this tremendous, like, I know Lars has talked about this before, it's just like, this tremendous like release of dopamine. You just feel like, even if it's just like a quick little commercial, a one-off sort of, one could say stupid little exchange, like you feel great, because it's like you've done something. You've invested the time. You've literally brought your walking water bottle of biochemical reactions, aka your body, into the facility, and you've invested the time, and you walk out and you get a deliverable, like, and it happens like very quickly. You watch it and it's like boom. That's the actor's job. If you're an auditioning actor, you are a working actor. Full stop.
Yeah, I love what you said about that. Uh, uh, about getting like there should be a reward and a feel good after, because you look at the way to look at auditions is that your performance. I just saw, who's it, Bryan Cranston has a very viral clip where somebody interviewed him on a red carpet about what an actor's job is, and he says it's to deliver a compelling performance in the audition setting, wherever you are, whether it's self-tape or in a room, and then walk away and let it go. Like that's the job there, versus some people who might audition and then they walk out and they're like, oh, was that good? Was that bad? Are they going to like it? And then they're watching the clock and watching their email for the next week. Am I going to hear? Am I going to hear? Am I going to hear? And they never get any sense of victory. And that felt good. And I created something, and I put together my performance and showed the world what I'm all about. It's just all this exercise in anxiety. So thank you for mentioning that. And we're big here. People come in always, that's a wrap on everybody. Like the best, it's sad, it's when you're on set, it's sad to be wrapped, but it also feels amazing. Like you're kind of like, well, thank you for the applause and thank you for loving me and helping me be part of your family, but now I gotta go. Oh, that's no good.
There's something else that I was thinking of as well. It's the fact that you delineate just like it's 1 hour. I mean, you could do this for longer.
Right.
And I've talked to other actors, and they do. One person was telling me the other day about how she agonizes about doing self tapes. Why? She goes, I'm a perfectionist. I go, okay, what does that mean? She goes, well, it needs to be just perfect. I'm like, but if you give yourself like a very finite amount of time, and at Vikings, it's an hour. You have an hour, or you can buy an extra half an hour, but it's usually an hour. So you have to deliver it within an hour. And it's like that thing that you were saying, BK, about about Spielberg in Saving Private Ryan. You might get we did this yesterday. I might get a 10% bump in the delivery, but we got stuff to do and we got to move on and we got to go. And it's good enough for you to be able to showcase and highlight your skills to somebody who's potentially choosing you or casting you. And it's good enough. So an hour is great. It gets your mind focused on, I've got to be as efficient as possible. No sort of effing around. No sort of like wasted energy. And it's all part of the if your body's like it remembers this, like your muscles remember all of this, you know? So if you do that iteratively, you just come in, all the stuff that I discussed, get in there, get out. It all happens within an hour and 10 minutes. It's a really beautiful thing. If you get it down to a science, and you guys do, it's just, that's the way all self-tapes need to be done.
Yeah, when you mentioned to people needing it to be perfect, it's like you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, because what is that? There's no perfect movie, there's no perfect performance. It's always going to change and evolve. Like, you could do it 1,000 times, it might get better. You might have one that's amazing, and then your next one is not so good. And then the other thing that happens, I think, often with actors who fall into that perfection realm, is often it's things that aren't really about the story or their job as the actor. Like, oh, I don't like what my eye did there, or my mouth, or my hair was a little off there. So it's all those self-conscious things, rather than being about the story. And did I tell the story? Did I hit the story beats? Did I tell the story, versus like, oh, I don't like how I looked in that one, or I made a weird face or something like that.
Did you show some range? Did you give them some variety? You know, things like that.
Brandon, do you want to add to that? You're like, just take a typical session using Adam as your actor that you're working with, how you structure things, how you run things, how you like to work it.
I mean, it doesn't really change from person to person. I really do try and keep it very similar for each person, depending on what they need and
Right.
and their abilities and stuff like that. But like most of the time, as soon as we get in, we're talking about sports, and then we immediately do just a read of the script, nothing on top of it, just a rehearsal, so that you've said it with somebody else. That way we have a good back and forth going on, and we can then get into the story. And most of the time, I'm always asking, what's your relationship with this person? How long have you known them? Who are you talking to, and why? Why are you still talking? Why are you here? And really just asking those simple upfront questions really gets people into it, and really gets them like, okay, yeah, now I'm more laser focused on who this person is, why I'm talking to them, and why I'm still here and just talking in general.
Right.
And like, that really does help a lot of people. And like, it's always really helped you, Adam. The one thing I did love what you said is stepping into the room and going into the sanctum, as you put it. One of my favorite exercises going to theater school was stepping over the threshold. And I think it's one of the most important lessons that I ever learned, is stepping into a place that you feel comfortable, stepping into a place that you feel like you can do your best. And like, I do that every time I step into that room, or the sanctum, as you put it, Adam. I love that word. And stepping into a place where I feel like anyone and everyone can do their absolute best. And I know each and every time after that hour that it's either changed them and changed the performance and changed their way of looking at self-tapes or auditions. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we've ever been able to give anyone at Laughing Vikings, is that gift of when they come out of that room, they're smiling, they're laughing, they had a great time. And that's what it should be about, because we got into this industry because it's fun. We got into this because we wanted to keep playing. We wanted to keep playing in the sandbox. We wanted to use our imagination. And that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to other people. That's what we give to our audiences, is we give over our imagination. We give over our love. And it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I love that idea of crossing the threshold. When I was in New York for conservatory, Mary Lou Rosado, our Shakespeare teacher, we did an in-person Shakespeare workshop with her, and that's really how she opened it. She was just reminding us, here you're like, we were sitting in the bleachers in the theater, and she's talking to us there, and she was on stage, and then she kind of noted the line of the stage and just reminded us, like, this, you cross this line, you're not in the real world. You're in a special heightened place where extraordinary things happen, where you stretch as a human being and as a character in the story. And that what happens off stage in the world has nothing to do what happens on, like, now it's a special place. You're entering a new realm, a new world. And yeah, that is really great. And I'm a person who is big into intentions, whether it's setting your New Year's intentions for a new year, or something called a door frame prompt, where as you're entering a new room, you reset your intentions. I'm about to walk into this room as this guy, and my intention is to do this thing. So I think if as an actor, if you have the intention, I'm about to walk into this room, if it's a live room, and change the molecules and deliver a great performance, a compelling performance that's unique to me, or I'm going to walk into this self-tape studio or my home studio and deliver a great performance, and I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I'm going into a sandbox and a clubhouse and a playroom, that intention is much stronger than, oh, I'm going to go, hopefully this goes okay and I don't embarrass myself, and maybe hopefully I don't forget the words, and hopefully I can get a good take. Like, you think of the energies of those two intentions, and one is the intention of someone who's probably going to book a role, and one who is still got some work to do. So thank you guys for both sharing that.